thanks to the insanely powerful new armor pieces from the Archtempered Rey Dau, and a powerful new set bonus, we have a lot to play with in the build crafting world. And while the 2-piece and 4-piece bonus of the new Archtempered Rey Dau armor set is the same as before with Rey Dau's voltage that increases the duration of latent power whenever that's active, the 3-piece group set bonus called Lord Soul has some insane potential. For one, every armor piece from an Archtempered Apex monster will probably have this group set bonus, giving us much greater variety in mixing and matching while still getting a good skill. And this skill is insanely good. At all times, you get 5% attack bonus from your base while decreasing your defense by 5%. And once per life, if you were about to get carded from a lethal hit, you simply don't. No matter how much damage you take, you remain with 1 HP, and then your defense shred disappears. Essentially, you get an attack boost at all times, and insurance from taking a lethal hit. This is especially useful when the monster's gonna one-shot you anyways regardless of defense, which will probably be a lot more common once we get more Arch-tempered monsters to fight. We can already see this with the Tempered Mitsune carding a lot of people online. With that said, we're going to be mixing pieces of the Archtempered Rey Dau armor set with existing armor sets to see what kind of spicy builds we can craft. But before we get into the nitty gritty, I gotta make a mention of the 2 armor pieces from the Archtempered Rey Dau that really stood out to me. One is the helmet that gives 1 weakness exploit, 1 max might, and 1 stamina surge while still giving you a 3-slot decoration. This piece alone is super strong and is a viable upgrade and or side grade to existing builds already. Another Rey Dau armor piece that caught my eye in terms of flexibility and potential are the gloves. It comes baked in with 2 levels of evade extender, which is not a bad skill. A lot of weapons can use it, and while it's a more comfortable skill, it's nothing to write home about. But then you look at the slots. With this one singular armor piece, you're able to slot in 2 3-slot decorations. Now that's impressive. And on that note, let's go over 5 different builds that utilizes the Archtempered Rey Dau armor pieces to great effect. The first is going to be a generalist meta build usable for all weapons and focuses on getting Lord Soul. The armor pieces that we're going to be using is going to be the Rey Dau Gamma Helmet, Soshia Chest Beta, the Rey Dau Gloves Gamma, the Rey Dau Waist Gamma, and the Soshia Pants Beta. With the setup, we get the 2-piece Soshia armor set bonus, which gives us passive healing. This can be nice to avoid dying from chip damage after taking a lethal hit. When we activate Guts, we then have only 1 HP, so we could die from a pebble if we don't stop the heal. With the Soshia skill, we prevent this. Additionally, we'll get skills like 5 levels of Agitator, which gives us 20 attack and 15% affinity whenever the monster is mad. 5 levels of Latent Power, which gives us 50% affinity and reduced stamina consumption whenever it is active. To activate Latent Power, you have to be in a fight for a certain amount of time or take enough damage. The damage taking portion pairs up really well with Guts because if you do take that lethal damage that goes over your health bar, you're probably going to activate Latent Power anyways. Usually, Latent Power will only last for 2 minutes, but thanks to Rey Dau's Voltage, the 2-piece armor set bonus, the skill will last for an additional 30 seconds. We'll also get 1 level of Weakness Exploit. While it's very minor, it gives us 8% affinity when hitting wounds, on top of the 65 that we'll already have from Latent Power and Agitator. And with the final 3-slot decoration that we have, we'll put in 1 level of Burst. Most weapons, when activating Burst, will gain 8 attack and 60 element, a substantial boost for only 1 3-slot decoration. This setup will also provide 3 levels of maximum might, giving us 30% affinity. For the rest of the skills, the armor will give us 2 evade extender, 1 stamina surge, 1 elemental absorption, and 1 recovery speed. As for the charm, we're gonna go with Counter-Strike 3. At the maximum potential of this build, we get 53 attack, plus the 5% additional attack from Lord Soul, 103% affinity when hitting wounds and 100% affinity when hitting weak points, and 60 element if not accounting for elemental absorption. This is an overall comfortable build that gives you quite a bit of power. If you're not planning on getting hit or don't want to use Counter-Strike, well, this second build is for you. It is still a generalist build, so it's good for almost all weapons, and it gives you 5 levels of Weakness Exploit and 5 levels of Agitator, while still retaining Lord Soul's attack bonus and the recovery from the 2-piece Soshia armor set bonus. The armor pieces that we're gonna need to achieve this is the Rey Dau Helmet Gamma, Soshia Chest Beta, Rey Dau Gloves Gamma, Soshia Waist Beta, and the Rey Dau Pants Gamma. Once we slot in the decorations and equip the Weakness Exploit charm, we'll get that 5 Wex, 5 Agitator, 3 Maximum Might, 3 Stamina Surge, 3 Stun Resistance making us immune to stuns, 2 Evade Extender, 1 Burst, and 1 Coalescence. The maximum potential of this build is not as strong as the first, it is much more consistent and does not rely on waiting until Latent Power activates to achieve our maximum potential. The third build is something that I'm really excited to test out myself, and it's a 4-piece Archtempered Rey Dau set that provides 100% effective affinity with level 5 burst. With 4 pieces of Archtempered Rey Dau, we get an upgraded Rey Dau's voltage, which increases our latent power duration to 3 whole minutes. There are 2 variants to this build, one that's for a generalist all weapon type, and one is specifically for dual blades because I'm a dual blade simp and I want to optimize for that. No matter which way we go, however, we're going to be using the same armor pieces. That is the Rey Dau helmet gamma, the Rey Dau chest gamma, the Rey Dau gloves gamma, the Rey Dau waist gamma, and the Mitsune pants beta. Thanks to this pants and slotting in some decorations, we're going to get level 5 burst, which for most weapons gives us 18 attack and 140 element when hitting 5 consecutive times to activate burst. We'll also get a damage amp from the level 5 latent power that gives us 50% affinity for 3 whole minutes whenever it triggers from us taking too much damage or the fight going on long enough. Pair that up with level 3 maximum might and we have 80% effective affinity before counting anything else. And to top it off for this generalist build, we have 1 level of weakness exploit, giving us an additional 5% affinity when hitting weak points or 8% affinity when hitting wounds. Not that important, but hey, it's baked into the helmet and additional affinity if it doesn't go over 100 is always good. With that, we'll also slot in 1 level of agitator, giving us 4 raw attack and 3% affinity whenever the monster is mad. The armor set will also provide us with 2 levels of evade extender, 1 level of stamina surge. We'll slot in 1 level of constitution for extra stamina management, and then for the charm, we'll do level 3 counter strike, giving us at our max potential 47 additional raw attack, and then 5% of our base added on top of that, 140 elements, 88% affinity when hitting wounds, or 85% when hitting weak points, which gets amped up to 91% when the monster is mad. For dual blades and bow users, we can take out the counter-strike charm and move around some of the decorations to make an agile build that amps up our raw damage while substantially increasing our elemental attack as well, while having 100% effective affinity. This could very well be the generalist elemental build that we've been waiting for since launch. By equipping the weakness exploit charm and slotting in some decorations, we'll get 5 levels of latent power, 5 levels of burst, 3 levels of weakness exploit that gives us 15% affinity when hitting wounds and 25% when hitting weak points, 3 levels of maximum might, 2 levels of evade extender, 1 level of stamina surge, 1 level of constitution, and a spicy skill that dual blades and bows can make really good use of, which is level 1 adrenaline rush. Whenever we dodge an attack, we gain 10 raw attack for 30 seconds. Dual blades and bows want to perfectly dodge all the time anyways, with the dual blades receiving an attack boost whenever they dodge and the bow restoring their stamina whenever they dodge. Next up, we're gonna abuse our ability to survive 1 lethal hit with Lord Soul to activate heroics. The heroic skill, especially at level 5, can be quite insane, giving us 30% attack whenever we are below a certain health threshold. Add a 5% attack boost on top of that from Lord Soul, and all of the other damage amps from the other armor skills, we're gonna be blessed with a substantial attack boost. If we didn't take lethal damage before to activate heroics, then we have insurance from Lord Soul to take a single hit with our heroic amp before having to truly worry about getting carded from any stray damage source. With this build, we're gonna have level 5 heroics and 100% effective affinity whenever latent power is up. To do that, we're going to be using the Rey Dau helmet gamma, the Mitsune chest beta, the Rey Dau gloves gamma, the Rey Dau waist gamma, and the Rey Dau pants gamma with the level 3 heroics charm. Slotting in the proper decorations, we're going to get 5 levels of weakness exploit, 5 levels of heroics, 3 levels of maximum might, 3 levels of stamina surge, 3 levels of stun resistance, 2 levels of evade extender, 2 levels of latent power, 1 level of burst, and 1 level of constitution. At level 2, latent power gives us 20% affinity. If we stack that on top of the 30% from maximum might and then the 50% from hitting wounds, bam, 100% affinity. Most of the time, we're going to be hitting an 80% affinity, but with how much of an attack boost we get from heroics and Lord Soul, that's not even going to matter because you're going to hit like a truck, no matter if you crit or not. On the other hand, stamina surge, evade extender, and the continuous stamina drain reduction will help us stay alive. Before we continue, question for you all. Which Archtempered Rey Dau armor piece has the most potential? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're down there, support your boy by hitting that like button and subscribe for more Monster Hunter Wilds content. Thanks. If you're looking for people to hunt down the Archtempered Rey Dau with, join our community squad. Squad ID on screen and in the description below. For the next build, we're going to be mixing 3 pieces of the Archtempered Rey Dau armor set with 2 pieces of Gore Magala. We'll be using the Rey Dau helmet gamma, the Gore chest beta, the Rey Dau gloves gamma, the Rey Dau waist gamma, and the Gore pants beta, alongside the Counter-Strike 3 charm to get 5 levels of weakness exploit, 3 levels of maximum might, 3 levels of antivirus, 3 levels of Counter-Strike, 2 levels of evade window, 2 levels of evade extender, 2 levels of latent power, 1 level of stamina surge, 1 level of burst, 1 level of constitution, and 1 level of flinch free. This build, much like the heroic build, will grant us 100% effective affinity whenever we cure ourselves of frenzy and latent power is active. Thanks to level 1 burst, level 3 counter strike, and the 5% attack bonus from Lord Soul, we won't be lacking in the damage amp department as well. All the while benefiting greatly from the extra evade window, evade extender, and all the stamina saving buffs that we get from the armor set. As for the last armor set build, we won't be using Lord Soul at all. Instead, we're going to further optimize one of the best generalist dual blades build that is out right now, video on the top right of the screen and in the description below, by making some very minor tweaks that has a huge impact on the build itself. And while you can use this build on any other weapon type, it is optimized for the playstyle of dual blades and bows. By equipping the Rey Dau Helmet Gamma with 4 pieces of Gore Magala Beta and pairing that up with a Weakness Exploit Charm, we're going to get 5 levels of Weakness Exploit, 4 levels of Constitution, 3 levels of Evade Window, 3 levels of Coalescence or Counter Strike depending on whatever playstyle you would like. Coalescence is great if you're focused on elemental damage and not wanting to get hit. Counter Strike is great if you're learning a fight or you're not using an elemental dual blades or bow. Level 3 of Antivirus for that 25% affinity whenever we cure ourselves of Frenzy, 1 level of Maximum Might, 1 level of Stamina Surge, 1 level of Burst, 1 level of Adrenaline Rush, and 1 level of Flinch Free. Thanks to the 4-piece Gore Magalas' Black Eclipse 2 and the level 3 Antivirus, we're gonna get 15 attack and 25% affinity whenever we cure ourselves of Frenzy. Whenever we're hitting a weak point, we're gonna get 30% affinity and then 50% if we're hitting a wound. Pair that up with a combo of damage boost from Burst, Adrenaline Rush, and Coalescence / Counter Strike, on top of the additional damage bonus from the Demon Dodge boost, and you can see how powerful this build can get. To note, for Lord Soul to meet the 15% attack damage bonus that the 4-piece Gore Magala gives, you would need a weapon with a raw attack damage of 300 or more to match or even exceed the attack damage bonus from Black Eclipse 2. Even though the numbers for 4-piece Gore Magala with 1-piece Archtempered Rey Dau is extremely good for dual blades, many other builds that uses 3 pieces or 4 pieces of the Archtempered Rey Dau is much more comfortable to play, while sometimes even providing more advantages if you're not using dual blades. For example, any weapon that can make good use of Maximum Might essentially guarantees himself 100% crit without worrying about weak points or wounds just by using 3 or 4 pieces of Archtempered Rey Dau. Guaranteeing yourself 100% affinity is much better than +2 or +3 raw attack damage. So take that as you will. Anyways, these are 5, well technically 7, amazing builds with great potential that utilizes the Archtempered Rey Dau armor pieces. If you have any other fun builds you'd love to share, leave it in the comments below. For more fun Monster Hunter Wilds content, check out this video on screen right now. My name is Varsona, and I'll see you in the next video.